I've been playing Minecraft for over 10 years. Over the years, my builds has gone from looking like this to looking like this. And in this video, I want to share some things I've learned and maybe help you understand how you can make your builds more aesthetic. I'll begin by showing you the kind of house I used to build when I first started. So, how do you go from building like this to building something like this? There's 3 things you will need to learn to incorporate into your builds: depth, shape, and color. So first I'll be talking about depth. So the main thing you want to remember for depth is to make sure that your wall is not completely flat like our first build over here, where you can see everything is completely flush, but you want to make sure that there are certain parts of the build that comes out like this outline, and there are certain parts of the build that goes in. It's like the glass pane and the door and the stair. So how I like to add depth to my build is by adding these frames around the walls, as you can see here. I really like doing this not only for my smaller builds but also for my bigger builds, because it not only adds depth to the build but can also help to split up wider walls into smaller, more manageable sections. So for example, when I have a build like this with just a lot of blank walls, how I will start detailing it is actually by placing logs here at the corners. Each of the corners should have these frames, so maybe one here and one here. And then you can start dividing the wall up into sections using the logs as well. So I like to go for an odd number in between, so I'll just go for 3 blocks in between the next log, and then another 3 blocks in between. And this is how I make my framing. I just connect up all logs together. And now that you've divided your wall up into sections, you can actually place windows in the middle of each of these sections. Like this. Like this. And another thing you can do is you can make these into arches to make them look nicer using stairs. And now you can see that the house already looks so much better. So now we'll be talking about color. So the previous tip on depth was mainly for improving your empty and flat walls. Now we will be looking at how to improve your build as a whole. If you're a beginner, my suggestion is to just experiment in a creative world and find 3 colors you think looks good together. So after you've chosen your 3 colors, you just need to decide which color you want to use for your framing or outlines, which color you want to use for your walls, and which color you want to use for your roof. Okay, finally, I'll be talking about shapes. So you can see throughout the builds here, these 4 builds here, they are all made out of one square shape. So to improve your build, you want to not only have one shape in your build, but you want to have multiple shapes in your builds that you combine together to form one solid build. I'll show you an example here where I have one main rectangle in the middle, and then we have 2 other rectangles on either side of the house, and these would be the walls of your house. So you can see here in this build, I use different shapes to make the build more interesting. You can see there's multiple sections that come out, and it's definitely not just one shape. So let me show you an example of how to use shape, depth, and color, the 3 things we learned today, to make your build. First, you want to start off by selecting your color palette, which blocks you want to use. So first I need to decide the part of the build where each block will be used. So I'm going to use the spruce log for my framing, the quartz for the main walls, and the waxed oxidized cut copper for the roof. So now that you have decided on your color palette, you want to begin by making the shape. So you want to make an interesting shape for your house. So now that I've decided on the shape of my house, I'm going to build the walls up. Okay, now that I've built my walls, I can actually start to put in the framing like we talked about in the first part of the video. And remember, you can add arches to your frames by using stairs. So now that we've added the framing to the walls, we can put in our door in the center. We can also put in our windows. Now you can start putting in your roof. So remember, for your roof, just put in the same block color as your outline for the first layer around. And then now you can put in your actual roof color. So I finished the build, and you can see that just applying the 3 things that we talked about earlier, we have gone from making a house that looks like this to now looking like this. And that's without adding any detailing. That's all I have for this video. I hope this video helped you learn how to build a bit better. If there's any other building tips you want me to make a video about, let me know in the comments.